So many characters in the Zelda series are amazing and loved by fans. For example, Midna from Twilight Princess, Ravia from A Link Between Worlds, and Urbosa from Breath of the Wild are all widely loved characters. The Zelda community are definitely loud and proud about their love for their favourite characters, and everyone seems to have a different choice. On the other hand, we have the Zelda characters that people aren't so fond of. There can be multiple reasons for this. It can be because of their personality, what they do, or even just their looks. Of course, it all comes down to our personal preferences. People will never fully agree on one thing, but disagreement doesn't always have to be a negative thing. For example, it can spark discussion and make room for a better change. Today, we're going to look into the Zelda characters that are often looked upon as annoying. Do you think you'll guess which ones we consider the most annoying? Keep watching to find out and see if you got it right. First off, let's talk about a character that is iconic to the series, yet they can be seen as extremely annoying within the fandom: Navi from Ocarina of Time. Story-wise, Navi is a fairy sent to Link by the Great Deku Tree. He sent Navi to Link to aid him in his journey to save Hyrule. Gameplay-wise, she's there to tell the player what to do when they need help progressing in the game. This is where she becomes annoying. Even if you know what you're doing, she will shout the iconic yet extremely annoying "Hey! Listen!" at you. She's a great companion, and her departure was very sad, as you definitely grow to love her as a companion throughout the game, but that doesn't change the fact that she can definitely be annoying at least once or twice. Continuing on the topic of Ocarina of Time, another extremely annoying character from that game is Kapura Gabora. Don't get me wrong, he's a cool character that may help someone out there on their first playthrough, but we all know why he's on this list. He tells Link useful information that will help him progress further on his quest. But if you, like most of us, are impatient at all, you'll notice how painfully slow his text boxes are. If you, like so many of us, button smashed your way through his speech, you'll unfortunately find out the hard way that the game tricks you into clicking the button to listen to the whole thing again. Trust me, this is one of the most irritating parts of any video game, especially because you can end up making him repeat his dialogue again and again until you finally click the correct button to exit his long, boring speech. This next character has been described as the most annoying character in the Zelda series by many fans, and we're of course talking about Fi, or Fi, from Skyward Sword. Fi is sort of like Navi, as she is Link's companion throughout the game, helping the player progress while also being a main character in the game's story. Her personality is very robot-like, and communicating with her feels like you're talking to some sort of AI, which can make her annoying to a lot of players. When you ask her something, if she can, she'll probably reply with some sort of unnecessary percentage, which gets old fast. If you played Skyward Sword in the Wii version, you'll probably remember one of the most irritating quotes in Zelda history, the traumatic "Master, the batteries in your Wiimote are nearly depleted." This alone makes Fi one of the most hated characters in Zelda history, as it is just so annoying. Continuing on the topic of Skyward Sword, our next character is extremely loved by the community because of his character growth, and we're of course referring to Groose. Groose is really rude at the beginning of the game. He's extremely self-centered and arrogant, and it's clear that he has a real dislike for Link, with the game hinting that he's extremely jealous of Link's relationship with Zelda. If you only played the beginning of the game, you'd probably think that he's one of the worst characters in the series, but as you continue the game, he really steps up. His character development is arguably the best in the series. He went from one of the most hated characters in the game to a fan favorite, but that doesn't mean he still doesn't have haters. This is an example of a hit or miss character among the fan base. Some people love him by the end of the game, whereas some people's opinions on him don't really change at all. Whether you love him or hate him, you have to admit that his redemption arc is great, and he really becomes a great help. The next character on this list is very similar to Groose. He's a very bitter and jealous person, jealous of everything Link has achieved, with fans either loving him or absolutely hating him. And you probably guessed right, but we're referring to Revali from Breath of the Wild. Revali is an outstandingly skilled archer, but he's obviously very insecure deep down, wishing that he himself was the hero. So he seems to take his anger out on the real hero, Link. A big difference between Groose and Revali is that we never see Revali's character develop in any way, because he, is dead. Even if you despise Revali, you do have to admit that he definitely does have the right intentions. He's a great champion. His only downside is that he is extremely self-centered and can't handle the fact that he isn't the best of the best. Like most characters on this list, he does have a lot of fans, but an equal amount of haters. It's safe to say that I'm definitely one of his haters, but I could see why some people like him. It's nice to have characters that aren't always quote-unquote good people. It's much more realistic than everyone always loving and accepting the hero, but that's obviously still gonna have downsides. Next up is a character that is annoying for many reasons, as she's linked to a gameplay mechanic that can be pretty irritating, as well as having a bit of a bratty personality. If you've played Ocarina of Time, you probably guessed that we're talking about Princess Ruto, and you'd be correct. The Zora princess is extremely stubborn, to the point where she wouldn't even move if her life depended on it. We first come across Ruto in the 3rd dungeon of the game, inside Jabu Jabu's belly, where she relies on Link to carry her around. This can be a little irritating for the player, especially since she will disappear if you take too long or leave her behind. Once you finally beat the dungeon and escape the creature's belly, Ruto gives Link the Zora Emerald as a token of her gratitude. However, she says that the gift now means that they will be married, which is obviously a real surprise to Link. Later in the game, when Link pulls the Master Sword, it forces him 7 years into the future. And when you see Princess Ruto again, she is very upset and calls Link a horrible man for ignoring her all this time. We've now gone through a lot of the quote-unquote annoying Zelda characters, so you may wonder which one we believe to be the most annoying. It could be Beedle, who kicks Link out of his shop if he doesn't buy anything, or it could be the irritating baby Goron in Majora's Mask that will not stop crying until you sing him a lullaby. Well, it's not any of those either. Before we get to the most annoying character in the Zelda series, we wanted to say that we do think most of the characters in this list aren't really that bad. They all have redeeming qualities, and if you ask 2 different fans of the series their opinion on each of these characters, chances are one will love the character while the other hates them. The real most annoying character in the series, to us anyway, isn't annoying because of their personality, but because of how their abilities work. You may or may not have guessed, but we are referring to the sages in Tears of the Kingdom. Now this clearly isn't just one character, but they are all annoying for the same reason, the way you activate their abilities. When Link has obtained any of the 5 sages' abilities after finishing their respective dungeon, he can use their abilities whenever he pleases, much like he could do with the champion's help in Breath of the Wild. But unlike Breath of the Wild, we now have a physical shadow-like version of the sages behind us in the physical world. This makes it really frustrating to use any of their abilities, especially if you have multiple of them enabled. When you want to use a specific sage's ability, you have to locate them and run up to them, which could be cool in theory, but most of the time, they run away from you. Or you may even select the wrong sage. Another issue with this is that you may accidentally click a sage's ability when you didn't want to. For example, if you accidentally click Tulin's ability right when you used a gacha machine in the sky, it causes the Zonai objects to be blown off the sky island, which is obviously not fun. This is one of the main complaints I've seen people have around Tears of the Kingdom, so it's obvious that we aren't the only ones irritated by this feature. Other than this, the sages are great characters, loved by most players. The only downside is the way that they're used. Thank you so much for watching our video. We'd love to know if you agree or disagree with any of the characters we've chosen to discuss today, and if there's any we didn't cover that you absolutely do not like and would have added to this list. We'd also love to know your opinions on the final characters in the list, being the sages, and if you, like us, didn't really like the way Nintendo chose to activate their abilities. We hope to see you again soon, and again, thank you so much for watching.